Henry Brogan is a top-tier assassin, a total pro with a reputation for being razor-sharp and lethal. As he's eyeing retirement, he's hit with a double whammy of existential dread and his body starting to throw in the towel. Just when he's ready to chill, his life takes a nosedive into chaos. He's hunted by a relentless younger clone who's not just gunning for him, but making him grapple with his past and the messed up ethics of his bloody career. It's game on, and Brogan's got to face the music or get taken out by his own damn shadow. In Liege, Belgium, a bioterrorist is traveling on a train with his men protecting him. Inside the train, an informant by the name of Marino informs the assassin that the train is moving. The assassin is a 51-year-old Henry Brogan, who is a former Force Recon Marine sniper and is now working as a killer for the Defense Intelligence Agency. As it turns out, he is being sent to assassinate a bioterrorist. Marion, on the other hand, is a young DIA agent and is acting as the spotter for Henry. He is also on the same train, relaying the speed and distance to hit. Meanwhile, Henry prepares his rifle and loads just one bullet. It appears that he has complete confidence in his abilities, and he is not intending to miss this shot. As soon as the train comes into view and everything seems fine, a little girl walks in between Henry and his target, leading Marino to suggest Henry hold his shot. Due to this, the shot is delayed until the girl finally moves out of the way, prompting Henry to take the shot just in time.
Damn!
After a while, Henry and Marino are cleaning up, and Marino happens to be excited about Henry's hit, claiming it to be the best yet in his whole career. He then shows Henry the video where it is clearly seen that the man was shot in the neck actually and not the head. This leads Henry to urge Marino to delete the video. Later, Henry turns the picture of his target into ashes, marking that he has gotten rid of him. He then goes back to his solitary life in a remote cabin. There, he receives a motion alarm and discovers that he is being visited by his DIA handler and a close friend of his, named Del Patterson. The two then greet each other, and Henry directs Patterson inside his home. There, he tells him that he is getting old and that it is time for him to retire since he was not able to hit the target where he intended. He is planning to leave this to a younger generation of killers who are more active-minded than him. Henry even tells Patterson about the little girl, mentioning how close the girl came to losing her life. Patterson attempts to try and convince Henry not to retire yet. He explains that he has no one that he can trust like he trusts Henry. However, Henry explains that he has 72 confirmed kills and notes that this is starting to affect him in a way that he doesn't like. The next day, Henry goes by the docks where he meets the new boat rental manager, Danny, who begins the conversation with him. During this scene, we discover that Henry is actually allergic to bees. Soon after, Henry sails his boat to meet a large yacht owned by his former Marine comrade Jack. They reminisce about old times and catch up on each other's lives, where Henry discovers that Jack is still married to his wife, who is in Paris, and his son, who is in boarding school. Later, Jack shows Henry a photo of the bioterrorist Valerie, asking if Henry knows her true identity. Jack then makes a startling revelation, revealing that Valerie was actually a Russian bioengineer and that the file Henry had was falsified. Henry is stunned by this news and demands to speak with Jack's contact, who gave him this news, which Jack promptly arranges. As Henry prepares to meet with the contact, he notices a glimmer in the sky, which turns out to be a drone. Meanwhile, DIA Director Lassiter and military contractor Clay Veris are eavesdropping on their conversation. Lassiter plans to contain Henry using DIA protocols, while Veris worries that Jack's contact might lead Henry right back to them. It seems as if Veris wants control of the operation to terminate Henry at the same time, noting that he has an agent that can take care of taking out Henry, but Lassiter refuses, telling him that she will get a team to deal with this matter. Meanwhile, Henry is back on his boat, but still appears worried about the glimmer that he saw in the sky. He then realizes that his speed gauge is loose and finds a tracking device hidden there. Henry returns to the docks where he shows Danny the tracker, accusing her of being a DIA agent. Danny denies knowing anything and gets defensive. Henry begins to get more suspicious and begins to cross-question Danny, to which she responds accordingly. Seeing that she is acting nervous, Henry wishes to see Danny's house, mentioning that he is sure he won't find a single book related to marine biology, a major Danny is interested in. However, when a customer shows up, Danny excuses herself to get back to her job. Henry then backs down a bit and apologizes to her. He then invites Danny for a drink so he can continue apologizing to her by the docks. After a while, Henry meets with Danny where he hands her some flowers, apologizes to her once again for his past behavior, and explains that he doesn't trust people easily. He then proceeds to show her an image of her DIA ID, forcing her to admit that she is burnt. Henry then questions Danny if she is working for Patterson, assume the waiter comes with the drinks, causing Henry to pause his interrogation. Danny then reveals that her father worked for the FBI and that he died off-duty while trying to encounter a bank robbery. Danny turns out to be a former Navy-turned-DIA who was tasked with tailing Henry, who wonders if it doesn't bother her since he is just trying to retire. After the dinner, Henry offers a ride home to Danny, leading her to reveal that her apartment is right around the corner. Danny asks Henry his reason for retiring, and he tells her that his conscience caught up to him. That night at sea, Jack is on his yacht when he gets suspicious and gets his gun. He is attacked by a couple of men who manage to overpower Jack, kill him and his mistress, and toss them over the side of the boat. In a flashback, Henry is being taught by his father how to hold his breath underwater. Henry's mom then comes for his aid, and soon the scene transitions to Henry being awakened by his motion alarm. He then spots some men approaching his home, leading him to quickly make his way to the underground cellar. In the dark, he calls Jack and gets no response, then calls Marino. He warns Marino to escape his apartment and leave the country. He further tells him not to contact anybody, including him, and to not trust anyone, especially DIA. However, an unfortunate takes place and Henry hears gunshots over the phone.
No! No!
Meanwhile, the team of DIA operatives approaches the house, but Henry swiftly eliminates them all. Danny wakes up to find Henry in her room, and she points a gun at him. Henry informs her about the men sent to kill him, but Danny denies any knowledge of the hit. He warns her that she's next and tells her to prepare herself. Danny rushes to her office to retrieve the keys to a boat, but she is ambushed by a DIA operative. She decides to fight back, and they engage in a struggle, with Danny being thrown around. When the operative is distracted by gunshots outside, Danny gains the upper hand, restrains his arms and legs, and holds a gun to him, demanding to know who sent him. Henry arrives, and Danny reveals that it was Lassiter who orchestrated the attack. Before they leave, Henry warns her that she will be leaving everything behind, but without a thought, she throws her phone into the sea, mentioning that she is scared. However, Henry explains that being scared is good since it makes one stay on alert. This prompts Danny to question Henry about what he is scared of other than bees, leading him to explain that it's drowning that he's scared of. The two then sail away. On the other hand, Lassiter and Varys get photos of the failed operation. Varys then explains that Henry is like a soldier. When they are young, they believe they can take on everything, but when they grow old, they develop a consciousness, and that's exactly what has happened with Henry. Varys then decides that Jiminy will take care of this situation. However, Lassiter refuses to permit Varys, but Varys doesn't need any. Varys' company is called Jiminy, and he promises to release a new breed of soldier, one capable of taking Henry down. Meanwhile, Henry and Danny stop off at a small island where Henry appears to be cleaning up Danny's wounds. She then asks Henry if his own government ever tried killing him before, but Henry tells her this is all new. Moreover, Danny tells Henry that he has spent enough time in the agency and asks him if he is aware of why they are doing this, but Henry seems to have no answer. They are interrupted by an incoming plane, which turns out to be Henry's associate, the Baron, also former Black Ops. He is shocked to hear that Jack may be dead and offers them a place to hide out. Patterson is in a meeting with his son at school when he gets a phone call from Henry demanding answers. Patterson admits that Marino and Jack are dead, but swears to have no hand in the attack. Amid their conversation, Patterson keeps telling Henry how it's not safe for them to talk about this on the phone, but Henry is too impatient to wait for an explanation. Patterson then tells Henry about Varys and Lassiter working together, and reveals that Valerie was working as a scientist at Gemini. Henry accuses Patterson of using him to take out innocent targets and refuses to come in despite Patterson pleading with him too after Danny tells what she knows about Gemini, knowing them to be a private military company. Henry explains that both he and Baron had served under Varys in the military and that Varys had tried to recruit them when he started Gemini. The trio then arrives in Colombia, where Henry recounts a traumatic experience with Varys. He describes how Varys had taken him out to sea, knowing about his fear of water, and instructed him to tread water. Henry had almost drowned before being resuscitated. The next morning, Henry wakes up to see movement on a nearby roof. He grabs his gun and warns Danny about a nearby sniper, instructing Baron to protect her while he sets out to draw the sniper away. As he walks down the street, he notices the figure following him and opens fire, engaging in a shootout. Henry manages to lead the sniper further away and grabs the man's scoped assault rifle, only to be stunned to find that the assassin's face is an exact match for his own. Henry then takes off after him, almost cornering on the roofs, until the man escapes in a barrage of gunfire. Henry spots the assassin approaching him and throws a bomb as a diversion. Henry is shot at and falls from the roof with the man hot in his tail. Henry then goes on to steals a bike and takes off at top speed, weaving through the narrow streets to escape. However, the assassin manages to shoot Henry in the arm, who takes off once more. Henry manages to disable the assassin's bite, but the man expertly steals another before continuing the chase. The assassin runs out of bullets, so he catches up with Henry and the two struggle until Henry is thrown off. The assassin returns and begins to knock Henry around with his bite, but Henry avoids a fatal strike skillfully. The assassin then sends his bike flying at Henry, but the cops turn up and arrest Henry while the assassin disappears. Danny and Baron see the assassin's cap, wondering who he really is. Meanwhile, Henry is confined in a cell until Danny secures his release, pretending to take him into DIA custody. The trio heads to a rooftop where Henry asks Baron to arrange transportation to Budapest, where Jack's informant Yuri resides. Baron contacts a friend to borrow a Gulfstream for the flight. During the trip, Danny speculates about Henry having a child, noting a striking resemblance between the assassin and himself. Henry concurs, remarking that it felt like encountering a ghost from his past. Back in the US, Varys is at home when the young assassin Junior appears, wanting to discuss his last target. Junior admits that he never got a clear view of Henry's face, but felt that Henry anticipated his every move, which unnerved him. He questions Varys about the true identity of his target, but Varys dodges the question, telling him that his feelings are fear and he must conquer them. The next day, Junior is observing a Gemini training program when Varys arrives, telling him that Henry is in Budapest and ordering him to take him out in Budapest. Danny meets with the contact and hands over samples from both Junior and Henry for DNA testing. Later, she meets with Baron and Henry, where she reveals that she had his DNA tested and that Junior is actually the clone of Henry. Later, Henry gets to meet with Yuri, wanting an explanation about his hit on Valerie. Yuri explains that Varys lured Valerie from Russia, funded his cloning lab, and then had Henry terminate him when he tried to return to Russia. Varys was able to clone Henry a few years ago and raised Junior like his own son, training him to be the perfect assassin. Yuri wants him and Henry to work together to take Varys down before his experiments become mass-produced, but when Henry wonders why they don't send a missile, Yuri explains that Henry will be that missile. Danny insists that Henry should meet and talk with Junior before the situation escalates, suggesting that Junior would be their best chance against Varys. A few days later, Lassiter is in a coffee shop when a delivery man arrives with a message from Henry, detailing her daily routine down to her tea time. Henry then calls her, falsely claiming that he has shooters surrounding her. He tells her that he is holding Danny, who wishes to return to the DIA unharmed. Lassiter agrees to the arrangement, but Henry stipulates that he will only release Danny to Junior. That night, Henry and Danny arrive at the handover location, with Henry remaining in the car while Lassiter stands out in the open. Danny spots Junior and approaches him, taken aback by his striking resemblance to Henry. Junior then instructs her to remove her clothes and conducts a thorough search for any hidden wires. Junior then calls Henry, giving him immediate location and threatening to kill Danny if she does not show. Junior has Danny drive a cab where she tries to get to know him, but Junior ignores her questions. He brings her to the catacombs where he plans to kill Henry, prepares a trap and takes out the lights. Junior puts on night vision and a gas mask, then has Danny bound herself. Danny again tries to get him to understand that Jiminy is lying to him, but Junior tapes her mouth shut. There is an explosion and Junior's night vision is blinded by Henry, who then holds him at gunpoint. The two finally get a close look at each other before Henry disarms him and searches him. Henry frees Danny and then warns Junior that he does not want to kill him, but will if he has to. Henry then tells Junior that he knows everything about him, including his allergies and dislikes. He attempts to convince Junior that he is a clone, but Junior refuses to believe it. Junior launches an attack on Henry, and the two engage in a fierce fight, throwing each other around and exchanging blows. Danny tries to step in, but Henry instructs her not to shoot as he struggles to subdue Junior without killing him. Junior's strength allows him to throw Henry around, but Henry uses his skills to keep up with the fight. Henry eventually manages to slam Junior down, though Junior remains relentless. Ultimately, Junior overpowers Henry and stabs him in the shoulder, but their struggle causes them to fall into a pool of water. Junior tries to hold Henry underwater, but Danny jumps in and is forced to shoot Junior in the arm to rescue Henry. Junior flees, and Danny helps the injured Henry back to Baron's car. Henry informs them that he is heading after Varys. Over at Jiminy, Varys is in his office when Junior comes by. Junior reveals to Varys that he knows he was made in a lab and is angry that Varys lied to him his entire life, even telling him that his parents did not want him. Varys planned to raise Junior exactly how Henry was raised, giving him all of Henry's strengths but none of his weaknesses. Junior breaks down in tears and Varys hugs him, telling him not to doubt himself. Baron, Danny, and Henry arrive back in the US and make their way to the hideout when Junior ambushes them and shoots Henry with bee venom. Henry falls over in pain, unable to breathe until Junior gives him the antidote, stating that he wanted to make sure that nothing is of concern. Junior discloses that Varys can track them via an implant in Henry's arm from a surgery done years ago. Junior decides to join them in their mission to take down Varys. On their journey, Henry shares details about his past, his parents, his upbringing, and how he came to meet Varys and become the assassin he is. He urges Junior to leave the assassin's life behind and seek something better before it's too late. Junior, however, believes he can't be anything other than an assassin, despite Henry's warning not to follow in his footsteps. Suddenly, Junior receives a call from Varys, who knows he's with Henry and warns him to flee immediately. Junior disregards the warning, but as they turn a corner, a missile strikes their van. Henry, Danny, and Junior manage to escape, but Baron is tragically killed in the attack. Junior flees while Henry and Danny seek cover. A team of armed men led by Varys then begins to converge on the area. Meanwhile, Junior returns to Varys trying to get him to call off the attack, but Varys refuses. A mounted machine gun then begins to fire at Henry and Danny, ripping the building apart and forcing Henry and Danny to escape. The men then rush inside the building and Henry kills the first two, leading him and Danny to arm themselves. They then burst out, guns blazing, swiftly killing the men outside. Meanwhile, Junior aims his gun at Varys and tries disarming him, and the two begin to fight with Varys overpowering him. Henry and Danny are skillfully shooting their way through the army of men until Danny is shot in the leg and Henry has to drag her along. Meanwhile, Junior manages to overpower Varys and holds him at gunpoint, but is unable to shoot him and knocks him out. Danny manages to bandage her leg, but more men begin to surround them. Henry uses his last bullet to kill the two men before handing Danny an axe, planning to make a last stand. Suddenly, the men closing in are shot by Junior, who comes to save them. Varys wakes up on the roof where he sends another of his assassins after Henry. The masked assassin then bursts into the room with some amazing skills, taking shots with his bulletproof suit, Danny taking on both Junior and Henry with lightning moves. Henry manages to throw him back, and Danny sets him on fire, but the assassin is not willing to give up so easily. Junior then unloads a shotgun into his chest before he finally falls. Henry removes the assassin's helmet, only to see another clone of himself. Varys then appears before them, telling Henry that he wanted an army of men as good as Henry. He tries to convince them that breeding an army of soldiers that are incapable of feeling pain or remorse is better than sending regular humans to die, but Henry reminds him that the clones are just as human. Junior gets angry and is about to shoot Varys, but Henry stops him and convinces him not to go down that road. Henry then takes the shotgun and blasts Varys, killing him in the process. Later, Henry meets with Patterson, who tells him that Jiminy has been shut down and Junior is safe and untouchable. He apologizes to Henry for being involved and wishes him a happy retirement. 6 months later, Henry meets up with Danny at a college where Junior has been enrolled. He greets the two warmly before Henry hands him documents with his own new identity, a new passport, and a new driver's license. Junior's new name ends up being Jackson. Danny then questions Jackson about the major he took. He reveals that he is leaning toward engineering. Henry then shows his concern for Jackson to not make the same mistakes as he did, leading Jackson to assure Henry that he will be okay. Thanks for watching the entirety of this video. If you enjoyed watching it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more content like this.